Alrighty, this with People News. One more time at it, okay? Educational purposes only, because I'm not an attorney. Alright, even though I didn't file for a bar contract, okay? Never look straight forward, always look around you, be able to protect yourself by any means necessary. Use that Second Amendment and arm yourself with knowledge. Now, I thought because we did the man thing, and then there's been other things of the administrative and the criminal periodically through my YouTube channel. But what is the difference, truly, right? Um, and I'm here to say, if you're in one, stay in the one. If you're in the other, stay in that other. Don't jump around like little bunny rabbits, okay? Uh, Learn the procedure in either jurisdiction you want to say, which brings me into the subject that we're speaking of. Okay, the top three jurisdictions in the world. Okay, then you got other jurisdictions down, but if you don't know the top three, then how are you going to challenge any of the other jurisdictions that's involved, right? So we're going to start from the top, okay, and let's proceed forward on this one.
Hey, so y'all know sovereignty is my jam, but what is sovereignty? So, what I mean by sovereignty is the ability to be self responsible in connection with Source.
Which sounds good. But in our Declaration of Independence, the whole design of this country is to be able to govern ourselves. Same principle, different name. It's just been in writing. Okay? And while we're speaking in writing, right, we also need to know when we read documents, and you got to look these things up, right? In law, of law, and at law. All right, so you got to know the contents of the area you're working in. What area is this? Okay, so kind of look them things up while you're at it, people.
We could also call this spiritual adulthood. So, when we find ourselves expecting someone else to be responsible for us, we can pretty much bet we've lost connection with Source. When we're connected with Source, there's no question about who's responsible for our creation because we are creating it. We are co creating it with God, Source, Creator. I use all of those terms interchangeably God, Source, Creator. I hold that.
And this being said, and I'm not picking one side or the other, I just wanted to be direct. All right, so if you believe in God, right, then you actually have a source that created you. Okay, so they actually have the creator is the owner of the creation, right? But argument's sake, okay, and I'm just saying it just to kind of give some context, right? An atheist, okay. Now, whether I believe it or not doesn't matter. But when you look at the contents, if an atheist does not believe in God, the creator of all things, then it only leaves the authority up to the government. And now the government, even though you're atheist, became your God. Okay? And everybody is treating judges in the United States as gods. Right? Terry versus Ohio. That was an unlawful, unconstitutional ruling. Period. Okay? However, because judges say that for officer safety and during the investigation period, even though the officer is allowed to lie to you, right? Um, we believe that there's other sections to lead to the probable cause. Well, that's not what our founding fathers said. That's not what the common law says. You know, I don't even think that's in administrative anywhere. It's been added, but when you put everything together, it was supposed to be complicated for the government to convict you, period. And what the courts are doing is making it easier and easier every day for government to convict you. So if you start reading through all the process, it's definitely supposed to be extremely hard to convict you of anything. All right. So, and again, I'm just kind of thinking outside the box and just giving some contents for you to think about.
Sovereignty is the foundation for true union. If we attempt union without first cultivating sovereignty, what we get is like a mushy merging and a codependent entanglement, right? And cultivating sovereignty really creates the possibility of true union. You know, this has really come forward for me and in the work that I do in the interpersonal realms, and it applies all the way down the line. So we can just kind of expand the concept and zoom it out, and it applies to this larger picture of outer sovereignty. And I really spent.
Okay. Hell versus Hinkle, right? We are allowed to contract, unlimited contract, but we have a right to contract as man or woman to another man or woman without involving ourselves into the corporation or the government, right? That's how you are sovereign, and that's how you truly men and women, is you to contract with one another. I want to exchange 6 loads of corn for, 10 loads of beans. All right, there's exchange. Okay, not really collecting what they call income, but it's a contract to work together. I need this, you need this. We come together and we fit one another's needs at the particular time. And even though with fake money or lawful money, it's still the same principle. Hey, I need this to pay electric bill or whatever. But you can also sign a contract that, for argument's sake, I will give you mow my yard. I will pay for your electrical bill. Right? Well, that takes out the taxes from the other people because now it's exchange. I'm not giving anything to them. I'm paying something for them. You know, little things like that. That's just top off my head. There's a little bit nitpicking involved in that, but you get the point.
The last decade plus of my practice exploring and cultivating inner sovereignty, which has really laid the groundwork for the page to turn to a chapter about outer sovereignty, which has really just come forward for me in the last couple of years, and I've learned a lot of things. I want to share some of them with you. These slides that I'm sharing with you are from the Outer Sovereignty Starter Kit, which is a free PDF that I'm offering that has a lot of information in it. Jurisdiction is just one of the pieces included in this educational offering, and you can access the PDF at a link in the description below. I'll make sure that's there. So as we move into more and more sovereignty, we're going to find that we move from the public domain into the private domain. In the public domain, there's a lot of expectation about being taken care of or having certain structures in place. There can also be a lot of projection. In the private, we are living men and women of the soil of the earth. We are connected to Creator, and we have been made in the image and likeness of Creator. Therefore, we are creators, and so we, the living men and women, co-create with Creator and develop our lives that we have dominion over. right? So in the private, it's just me and God and my creation and having dominion over my creation. The public is a lot more complex and complicated than that. And we're going to get into that as we get into jurisdiction. So there are three main jurisdictions in law, and they exist in a hierarchy. So I'm going to start with the highest level jurisdiction in the hierarchy, which is the jurisdiction of air. This is also known as ecclesiastical law or God's law. This is a lawful jurisdiction, and it is governed by faith. So I just learned in the last couple of years that the Bible is, first of all, a book of law, and second of all, it's a contract, which is also known as a covenant or a testament.
And it's also a history book, the here and now book, and the future book. It goes through all them categories when you actually read it.
Or a trust, right? So these elements, these concepts and constructs originate in the jurisdiction of air, in the jurisdiction of ecclesiastical law. So just a quick note on the Bible. It's my opinion that it is best to approach the Bible with a level of discernment, just like everything else. My impression is that some of the original in-streamings of information were distorted, and there's a lot of allegory and a lot of mistranslation from the original Aramaic. So it's wise to sift through for the truth that is available, and I believe there's a lot of it. But essentially, this document, which has come to be known as the Bible, is a covenant between God and the people. And the people are the beneficiaries of the trust of the covenant of the Bible. The quote, "The meek shall inherit the earth." Meek was probably mistranslated from humble, right? So the humble people of the living soil are the beneficiaries of the trust that the Bible creates. Fortunately, sometime in the 80s, a statute was passed declaring the Bible a book of law, right? So we really can lean into the wisdom that is present in the Bible as we traverse this territory of jurisdiction. Remember, the jurisdiction of air is the highest level of jurisdiction in the hierarchy. So within this jurisdiction, exchange happens in the form of gifts. It's governed by faith, and exchange happens in the form of gifts. So I see this as like the PowerPoint for moving into sovereignty. So as I explained at the beginning, sovereignty is self-responsibility in connection with God, source, creator. So this is a really powerful point here in the jurisdiction conversation. We each need to be anchored to our own individual connection with source, right? There is no external authority that can bestow upon us this direct connection. When we claim our inborn capacity to be in direct connection with source as a co-creator, that lays the foundation for sovereignty and being able to fully inhabit this jurisdiction and the next jurisdiction that we're going to talk about, which is the jurisdiction of land, right? So God grants man life in the creation, in God's image and likeness, which means that we each individual living men and women are also creators with dominion over our creation, right? So God.
All right, so we're going to go ahead and end it there. I'm going to keep my mouth shut on the next one. But to finish up, right here has no respect over here, right? Legally, right? They don't like attorneys and all that, okay? Because of all this confusion here. Now, remember, in maritime law, right? This all follows into maritime law. So commercial law is maritime law. Admiralty law is actually maritime law. Commercial law is maritime law. Okay? So, even argument's sake, I kill somebody and they give me 25 years to prison, right? Okay, that's fine. That's fine over here as well. However, when they said, and you must pay $30,000. Well, you're no longer in a real criminal court right here. You are in this court, commercial, because they are created a bond, they created a debt, they are operating in business, all because of one word. You owe $4,000. Well, I say one word, but really that's what it is. It's just, you owe $4,000. That turned it into commercial. So everybody that's in prison today that's got some type of bill and in debt is imprisoned with commercial law, not this law. This law, you would be in jail for 25 years, released, and have all your rights restored. This one right here, you are now no longer have the 13th Amendment non-slave status. You have automatically been put in slave for the rest of your life. This right here, once punishment is done, due course is taken care of, equity has been recovered, you are back and free. You're no longer what we call 13th Amendment slave. Or, you know, the 13th Amendment release of being a slave has been restored. You're no longer a slave. Over here is lifetime. Enhance. Anytime you get pulled over, they have it on record for the rest of your life. That's enslavement, y'all. Just saying. Bye, y'all.